we would like to pass the word to Hernan Spotti. Herman is a professor of agricultural engineering, is a member of the Advisory Council of Disability of the Argentina Foreign Minister, representative of the non-governmental organization of the province of Santa Cruz in the Federal Council of Disability of the Argentine Republic. He is also a lecturer in several courses, talks, and training on disability, and the founding member of La Sorderia, and a cochlear implant user himself. As far as I picked up from Sue, Hernan will give the presentation in Spanish, but Patricia will translate it into English. Yeah. So I pass the word to Hernan.
Buenas tardes. Los principales desafíos en América Latina para la adquisición de un implante coclear son los costos. La mayoría de los países se manejan con distribuidores, lo que encarecen el costo de los dispositivos altamente.
Let me do the production for everyone, okay? One of the main challenges there is the device cost, because in Latin America, there are distributors, which makes that all the devices, the cost of the devices are highly expensive, because it's very marked on of the really pricing that the cochlear implant have, about the margins that they have. Adelante, Hernan.
Bueno, la inflación ha hecho que los importes en la moneda sean muy altos, ¿sí? El alto costo tiene que ver con la inflación que sufren los países de América Latina.
Another good point is that the inflation Latin America is very high. A good example that you can have is maybe it's less in the rest of Latin American countries, but in Argentina, you have right now 110% per year of inflation. That because the cost of the devices are in American dollars, okay? That makes also very expensive to everyone. Mm-hmm.
Patricia, I'm sorry, could you keep your hand from your mouth?
Yeah, I read it in the chat, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
La demora en la aprobación de los dispositivos.
Hernan, no tenemos que movernos al otro slide.
Next slide, please.
El otro.
The next one, please.
Ahí está. La demora en la aprobación de los dispositivos, por ejemplo, aunque en la Argentina es obligatoria la cobertura por parte de las prepagas, obras sociales e incluso del Estado, el gobierno. El alto costo que representa hace que las aprobaciones sean muy lentas.
In almost all Latin American countries, you have a coverage, okay, universal coverage for the cochlear implants. Particularly, Hernan is talking about Argentina here as an example that are covered for the public and the private insurance. But forget the final approval of the device, they go under the review, and the highly costs have done that the timing between it was presented until they got the approval, it takes a very long time, okay? And also there are another countries which the coverage is not highly covered. As an example, Chile, and I could say as an example as well, like Mexico, where you don't have an universal coverage. Mainly this universal coverage is in Argentina and Brazil. Mm-hmm.
No, los repuestos son
Próximo, next slide, please.
Los repuestos son también muy caros y eso hace muy dificultoso también el pago por parte del paciente. También las distancias, ¿sí?, que existen entre el usuario, los implantados, y los centros de distribución.
Well, the spare parts are very also expensive, okay? And there is also a huge delay because sometimes the distributors don't have the necessary spare parts, and the user need to wait a lot, and sometimes they're not able to hear, okay? And spare parts are not clearly covered in this universal coverage. They have to be paid out of the pocket for the cochlear implant users.
Si bien existen muchos profesionales preparados, falta la preparación de muchos en los lugares más alejados, ya sea para el diagnóstico, así también para las cirugías. Es un costo elevado para las familias el tener que viajar, y además el costo del desarraigo y de la separación de los núcleos familiares, ¿sí?, a la hora de emprender el desafío de una cirugía.
Okay. Latin America have very large countries, okay, which make a very huge challenger between the biggest places where you have professionals very well trained that do the surgeries, and sometimes everyone goes to the main capitals, regardless they are fully training professionals. Then this makes very difficult two things. One is get the correct diagnosis in order to have a cochlear implant well selected, which is a key point. And also the other point is that it's a high cost for the families that need to travel. Sometimes the surgery can be done in the place where they live, but there is not people that is well prepared to do the fitting and calibration for the cochlear implant, which is very important as well.
Lamentablemente.
Next slide.
Lamentablemente el diagnóstico tardío, ya que a pesar de la existencia de la legislación de screening universal, no son en muchos lugares donde se realiza, ya que solo las audiólogas son las que lo hacen en la mayoría de los lugares, y entendemos esto debe ser hecho directamente por las enfermeras de neonatología y posteriormente informada por un audiólogo o bióloga para ser facilitador en la detección temprana en los lugares más remotos que contamos los países con una gran superficie.
Another very important point is highlight that all the early detection and the screening, particular for the newborns, because often the diagnosis is very late. The average age median in Latin America is close to 3-4 years old, which is not the best thing to do. And this is a huge problem because this is just handled only by audiologists. And we understand, okay, that this needs to be done maybe by nurses, okay, that are in the maternity, at least the testing, and then later analyzing by the audiologists that could provide the good information.
Bien.
That's all. Then thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Hernan, Spotti, and also Patricia Faletti for your translations. This was really important issue, which came also out of the survey. It's about money, let's say. It's about all the payments that CI users have to take care of. And I would like to pass the word also to Brian if there are questions in the chat room.
Yes, thank you, Leo. That provoked quite a bit of discussion. Sue was pointing out that in the survey you've just heard about, that the issue of costs came up very strongly in the Latin American countries. And Robert was pointing out that if provision is very different in different countries and different areas, this can potentially place a restriction on cochlear implant users about where they can travel. Sue was also making the point that often the ongoing costs of cochlear implants aren't thought about and included in the costing. And then even, Carmen was saying, even in countries such as where there are good resources, often sometimes the devices get sent out of country and can take more than 6 months to get them back. So a lot of different points coming up there rather than questions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Brian, I can tell you that that's a huge issue, particularly in some of the countries, not in all. But I as an audiologist working with this for more than 30 years, I can tell you that it's not only the late diagnosis, it's also, the late provision of the cochlear implants and good rehabilitation in different problems, because the geography is very large and it's not easy to cover. And there are a lot of things that need to be thinking in order to correct that. That's my point of view. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Patricia, for this last information, which is so important. We have to take care all the life of the child, of the parent, of the adult, yeah, and of course all the ongoing costs, and not only the device to implant. Yeah, it's a lifelong cost. Okay, thank you very much for your presentation.